Hey guys, this is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching and Floh AI. Wanted to review the 5 minute charts that we posted up in Flow and TNP so that we know how those levels responded and how we could have told that today was going to be a hard trend day down. Again, this kind of goes to our beginning features of how do you do the basics of reading the market. So let's jump in. If you'll take a moment to read this, this basically says past performance is not indicative of future results, and this is for educational purposes only. You can lose a lot of money trading futures. Please make sure you have a good trade plan. You know what you're doing. It's not magic, it's work. You got to know the process. So we're going to look at NQ first, and then we'll look at ES, and then we'll just make a few comments. So first of all, each of these levels, when I post them, I expect them to be key critical levels where I can look for either the PA to change or see responsive buying. Um, so that's number one. Location matters, right? It's not the only thing, but it's an important thing. So if you look at how the day started off, first of all, we gapped down, and this 5 minute bar held a lot of information for us. So this is the first 5 minute bar right here. You know, I'm going to mess up my chart, so let's do this. Let's erase this and just duplicate the chart. And I'm going to try to do this in just a quick minute. We might as well duplicate ES as well while we're at it. And we'll come over here. So we open up, first 5 minute bar. Now most days, if you go and look, you'll see that we do attempt to trade above the first 5 minute open, like particularly in a bull market, right? So the first clue that there was a problem was we couldn't even recover 50% of the first 5 minute bar. And if you look, the first bars, if you look in this series, so this wasn't 5 hard bars down, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars in a row where you couldn't trade above the prior high of the prior 5 minute bar. So if you include that with the gap and the inability to make any kind of attempt at gap fill, and then additionally, if you measure from the high to the low, we were never able to get past the 62 retrace of the open. This is all in the first half hour. The only reason this counter, well, there's two reasons why this counter rallied. You can see at each of the levels, if we make this big, right? So you can see we blasted through this 18095, which was, I want to say that was a prior day's low. I just didn't change the color. That's correct. So this is yesterday's low up here. This is a prior day's low. We just blasted straight through. They tried to hold that next support level right there at 18072. And the reason I say that is because in a 5 minute bar, that bar can be, I trade on quite a small time frame. That what I'm looking for was there an attempt to respond, and I can tell from the wick that they attempted to hold that 18070 level, failed, come down to 18, basically 020. Right, and you can see they came right off the tip of that, and then where did it rotate back up to? So this is all an 850. It rotates back up to this resistance point, right? So remember, there's a general concept in trading, which is if you had an attempt at a responsive buyer, if they get busted and they get stopped out when they come back, that buyer will become seller. That's what happened over here. He sold, pushed underneath the 18020 support level. Backside tested it, rejected. This is clear at this point by 9:05, especially once you got this bar right here. This made sense because it was pushing up into econ that we had at 9 a.m., right? But this bar right here made it clear that, hey, we're in trouble, right? From a long side perspective, I'm no longer trying to get above the market. Now, I did say, and if you look at what I've written in the books, is like, if you can get a clear close above the last down bar, which you'd have to count really, none of these were a clear down bar, but you'd have to say this was your last, this gray bar is really red. I try to get red off my screens. This down bar was the last down bar, and we did close above it, but we closed above it going into the econ, right? And then it immediately failed and resumed a downtrend. Now, if you look as this comes down, right, the next place that we were able to close above a prior down 5 minute bar is right over here. Okay, so I want to pause for a second. At this point, the people I saw having difficulty, look, when I write or when I cover in the morning preview in cover the morning preview, and I say wait till the 5 minute bar gets above the last down bar, This would be what I meant at 1025 basically. That's the first time that we got above. And if you look, that's when we started our two-sided price action up and down, right? You could have waited quite nicely till right here. It doesn't mean that we all out reverse. It just means the most harshest part of that open drive lower is most likely done. You have to be able to discern from the idea that news drove this idea or this concept here. News drove this concept to push this rotation back up, and they basically just got a quick short covering into the econ and then resumed down. But there was nothing over here. This was just pure price action that got us up and above. So this retrace, right? Once I get this retrace, this is really pretty perfect. If you take your 50-60 retrace, you come off the low and you go to the high, okay? Once you get to this 50-60 area right in here, this is now where I am looking for potential reversals. And for those of you who are following me, that's approximately where I picked up the calls to go to the upside, right? I was writing this 1025, 1030. I might have done it a little bit earlier. I might have done this 1005, but it was right in here. I don't remember exactly the time, but it was right in here. And the targets were, for me, if you look at where the calls were, and I would have done it with the futures too, but I couldn't quite figure out the rhythm with the futures there for the reversal. So the target was 17,968, which you can see that was a support area. See how they tried to hold it? They tried to reverse it there. Failed, became resistance, became resistance, became resistance. This was target one. This was target two. Actually, I had to buy those calls right over here. We were down 300 or 325, if I recall. And those calls so the way I handled the volatility was, first of all, what I was looking for from this area, we got at the end of the day. I was looking for a move like this, which would have been approximately 100 point to 150 point move out of this area. It just came at the end of the day. I'm all right with that, right? But I want to show you so you can visualize what I was looking for. Number one, I was looking for a squeeze like this. I had two opportunities to exit those options. When I bought those at 70 cents in here, they went to 90 cents here, and they went back to 90, 85, 86, 87 cents here. I chose not to exit at either location because I was trying to get 99 cents, and that was silly. Well, it wasn't silly, it just didn't work out, right? And I took the loss. I'm okay with that. That was part of my plan, and had it made this little move up over here and we'd gotten in here and here, those would have gone to $1.50, $1.30, $1.40, $1.50, and that's what I was targeting. It just didn't work out here. Totally fine. Next rule that you want to go through is on trend day down, if we counter rally to a swing high over New York lunch, which we did, that stops the one timing to the downside over New York lunch. That's straight out of Mind Over Markets. You would generally expect at least a 50-60 retrace, if not an actual test and break of the low. From there, that's exactly what we got. I do not, have not been, and do not intend to start trading actively in the afternoons, with special exceptions, but on trend day down, we're just getting pounded. And you got to remember, my perspective is always, I'm looking long, right? If you caught that short, that's fantastic, but I don't care about that short. The majority of trading days in the U.S. session are to the upside, the gross majority of them. So I'm looking for trades to the upside. So I have two objectives when I get a market like this. First of all, I don't want to get killed. I want to be very specific with what I'm taking. I want to manage my risk. Even break even is fine with me like this, because this day is very, very few. And what you'll see, if you look like on Twitter or multiple talk rooms, is that people get really excited when we get these big body slam days down, right? And here's what will generally happen. People will work and work and work to get these big moves down, and then the market will reverse and they'll give it all back. I can promise you that there was a great number of retail traders that got slaughtered in this move back up because they just can't visualize. And I was talking to someone today, and what they said down here was, look, the market's just getting pounded, right? Well, was it really getting pounded? It already had been pounded down here. This is when we're down about 300 points. These are quite tradable rotations back to the upside in my eyes, right? And the deal is when you keep pushing for these minus 300 to 400 to 500 point down days, this is a 1 in 20 situation. You got it today, but here's what will happen, and mark my words, to a great deal of traders. They will try to reproduce this day over and over and over again, and they'll any money they made today, a moderate to weak trader will give it all back in the days to come, trying to constantly grab that short without precision, right? So let me recap. This was open drive lower, right? Inability to close above the last 5-minute bar down, and the only reason to squeeze up was into econ, and after we got the econ, the open drive lower resumed. So certainly by this point, you should have been able to tell that we had an inability to get above the 5-minute bar. We were in trend day down. We couldn't hold what on other days have been key support levels, giving big rotations up, and there was a change in character. Okay. Number two, we counter rallied and hit a swing high into New York lunch. That's usually a kiss of death if you stop one timing on a 30-minute time frame to the upside. Look for a 50-60 retest of the lows, and then of course potential break of the lows. And my only goal, some people want to be perfect on both sides. My only goal is just to either be, if I can be up, that's great, but if I can be flat to slightly down with no major damage to my accounts and being an ability to make money on the following trading days, that's good enough for me, right? I spent a long time doing this, and I just know that I'm not Mr. Perfect on both sides of the tape. I don't begrudge anyone who was able to grab the shorts or was aggressive with the shorts and got paid. Certainly members in the room got paid on the short side, and I congratulate them. But for me, my focus is on the long side, and it just didn't work out here, right? And then let's just talk about ES for a second as well. The other thing that you'll look at, if you look at ES for today, let's do the US session only. And you had much the same, except into that econ. This was a little tricky because we started with a gap down, and they actually did close above that 5-minute high on that 5-minute bar, and you could have certainly gotten head faked on that. They tried to push, and then you can see, but this was the death now. It would have been easier, I think, on a lot of people in ESs if you started off with this bar at the open, but if you look 1, 2, 3 bars down, that's a big warning for me, whether it's an ES or an NQ, but you got to remember ES is going to lead the market, right? So 1, 2, 3. So we began the trend day down. This is gap down. To me, this is delayed open drive lower here between 9 and 9:15. 1, 2, 3 bars down. So I'm looking for the same thing. I'm looking for the first close above the last down 5-minute bar, and that occurred right here for me at the beginning of New York lunch. Again, that's not good from a trend perspective. And as you can see, we came up, just attempted to take out this swing here, failed, and then we came right down into support where we found responsive buyers. ES was really a little bit more straightforward today from that perspective. And yeah, so my job isn't convince you whether to be on the short side or the long side. You have to decide that for yourself. For me, the objective on a day like today, especially after making so much money to the long side for so many weeks, is just to play D. I don't have to be Mr. Perfect. I think that's one of the perceptions, that traders have to catch every move. They have to have every read right. They have to be on the button each time and every time. And that's just, in my eyes, is incorrect. So you can see ES eventually started respecting the support resistance levels here very clearly, and then we traded all the way down right into the 50-70 to 50-66 support resistance levels and found responsive buyers, and we'll see where we are tomorrow. So important about tomorrow, I do not trade when the Fed chair is speaking or giving testimony. That's Wednesday and Thursday, so that puts me on the sidelines in the morning, and I may not trade in the afternoon either, but I do not want to lose money when he's yapping. I hate it. I hate how the market either jumps massively or dumps massively based on what he's saying, and I can just wait till I get a nice clear path to profitability. This is a long-term game. It's very, very important that you play on an intraday basis, but we're playing the long game, and that means stacking your capital, not drawing down, and if you are losing properly, meaning on process, with control, and you have a max stop on the day. So anyways, my name is Simon, You can reach me if you look on Twitter at AI Floh, so it's at AIFLOH. Or you can reach me at Trade and Perform, at TRADEN Perform on Twitter. And anyway, that's my 2 cents, guys. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we will talk to. And you can find me on the Floh server. The link will be put in this video. So, anyways, have a great night, guys. That's ESNNQ, and I hope everyone who is trading tomorrow trades well, intelligently, but just remember,